Piping Live 2024. You played yesterday and you've been taking in some of the performances today, and I think we can reveal now as well that you were one of the secret judges today. This won't go out until after people know what happened.
Yes, I was. I was hiding amongst the audience. That was a really fun experience. It's been a while since I've done spectating, I guess, of competitive style. I used to compete, of course, and then being over here and seeing some of the top pipers kind of on the scene at the moment, and especially the young players, is really exciting.
Yeah, and you told Fergus yesterday during your session in the Street Cafe, this is your first time back at Piping Live, back at the Worlds for quite a few years. What's it like to finally be back?
9 years. It's amazing to be back. It's definitely a different world now, kind of being on this side of things, being a little bit more involved and less competitive. I'm finding myself busy in very different ways. Keeping myself busy being involved in Piping Live, but of course I'm not out rehearsing every morning and doing practice and preparing for the Worlds or competitive nature.
Yeah, and you gig all over the place normally, but I don't suppose most of the gigs are full of like 90% pipers and 90% of the pipe band world. Does it feel different? Is it more daunting, playing in the Street Cafe yesterday?
I was a little nervous. I tend to do well with nerves. I've had a lot of practice playing in front of really great pipers, of course, being in the competitive scene and having judges and seeing other competitive bands come over and watch the solos. I've had to practice being comfortable in those environments, but doing what I do now, which is much less conventional, opens up for a lot of potential judgment. But I was sitting there, side stage, talking to my guitarist, and I was like, nobody who's here wants me to fail, especially I had the benefit too of it being a ticketed event. I was like, nobody would buy tickets if they wanted to come and be judgmental, so everybody's here to have a good time, so it's okay. But it was a very, very cool experience. The kind of questions that I got were a lot different than what I would get normally in the States, and it was a lot more engaging, and the people stopping after the Q&A was over to ask additional questions as well were very, very kind and asked a lot of important questions.
Yeah, because you were saying yesterday that you get a lot of questions, and you did a series on your TikTok, you get a lot of questions about, how do the pipes work? Mm-hmm. What were the sort of questions you were getting yesterday from, this kind of different audience that knows a lot more?
Yeah, so I was getting a wide variety of new questions and new categories. Some were the funny ones, like, are you not worried that your drones will go out of tune when you're jumping around like that? So of course we got to talk about proper maintenance. I got some questions about, like, how are you playing in these keys? How are you able to work around and play in these keys? Which were fun to talk about as well for the players who knew a little bit more about the music theory. I got some fun ones as well about the actual instrument makeup and, what reeds I'm playing, what combinations of things, because there's a lot that goes into, of course, playing in the modern style as well, and playing in concert pitch. It's a little bit of a different beast than just playing Highland bagpipe and tuning.
Yeah, and you've got a few different chanters there. You've got a D chanter, you've got a B chanter, and you've got some other chanters that you've had a bit more of a play with and tried to do a bit more experimentation. Just tell us a bit more about those.
Yeah, so I'm traveling right now with 3 chanters, but I have 4 that are in concert pitch. I have my A chanter, which I'll also play in A minor with some false fingerings, the B flat as well with the C and F natural. I made a B chanter, so B natural, so higher. I think it tunes to A492, which is pretty high. I made that with G1 reeds with John Elliott before he passed away, and then I have a modified version of that, which was the first one that I had made my own with my Dremel. I nearly killed the thing, but that one plays in B minor, so it's in a mode, and so I have to do some unconventional fingerings, like an open C, just to stabilize the notes. So that one took some time to kind of work around and change muscle memory a little bit. for starters, it's incredible that the Piping Centre is supporting this kind of initiative and putting something together as a hub for women in the industry and in the community, piping and drumming alike. I think we talk a lot about women in bagpipes and not enough attention on drummers in the bagpiping community, so it's nice to see a panel of everyone from all walks of life, from newer players to some icons in the piping history. So that was very interesting to sit back and watch. I have a lot of opinions on the matter. I very much agree with the motivation behind putting this together. It's challenging at times, I think, for the most part, because it can be an isolating experience being a woman in a pipe band, especially at the higher levels.
Yeah.
I'll remember when I joined the first grade 2 band I was a part of, I had come from a juvenile band prior, and there were a lot of young girls because we had all freshly started together. And then I was the youngest person in the band, and then the only woman, with these big men towering over me, and the culture was very different because it was more highly competitive, and of course because there were no other women around. And it was a very, I guess, culture shock kind of experience. And so you kind of have to either sit with being treated differently or figure out a way to talk to people and get them on your side. But I can see for a lot of people why that maybe is a little bit of a discouraging experience for going forward.
Yeah. And do you have any advice for young girls in piping, wanting to get into piping, or who might be piping now, but sometimes you lose the enthusiasm for it at some stage during your youth, and sometimes people stop playing.
Of course, I talked about it a little bit in the Q&A last night, but finding a community, building a support system, whether that's built up with other women or just friends and peers in general, people of your own age, I think it's really important to have a support system for the times where you're starting to feel a little low, feel a little bit of a loss of motivation, as well as making a path for yourself. Sometimes if band's not for you, you don't have to force your way through it.
Yeah.
You can navigate outside of that. Maybe try solos instead, or you can do what I did and just start something new.
Go your own way.
Exactly.
Thank you. Thanks for talking to us. Enjoy the rest of the week.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for your
Cheers.
time.